Look, thank you all for coming. I won't delay you. And what I thought I'd do is, you're always told when you start off, you want to give something that's inclusive. I certainly don't want to drive any more of you away. So I'm really looking at what have you all got in common? And I guess it must be a hatred of bankers. So, here we go. This is the bankers' song. Fiercely independent until slightly overspent, then needing to be bailed out by the state. I mean, no one wanted that. The party went quite flat. The shame to borrow cash at 0 rate. Actually, you know, that's quite funny, because whenever we lend money, we demand a huge rate of return. But when money's without strings, banks can do creative things like, pay tax at 1% on what they earn. Now, to all of those who say banks should never pay bonuses, I'd say those people need shaking to their senses. There's been a whopping rise in VAT, and on top of that, you know, we're not MPs. No, we don't fiddle our expenses. Actually, it's quite an onus to spend your annual bonus when your salary is already 800 grand. I mean, measured pound for pound, it's the best paid job in England. But, you know, without the perks, I wouldn't stay around. Now, for us, it's remuneration. But for you, oh, felicitation. We hear that things for you are getting worse. It's a shame your social tonic is so harsh and economic. But then we live in a parallel universe. So let's hear it. Let's give thanks to British banks, because we're not like the West Bank. Oh, no, you know, we're not dividing Palestinians and Jews. British banks cause no new schisms or any new divisions. It's always been the case. We win, you lose. I make no apologies for this in the political poems. I am going to use the C word. And, I mean, basically, if you don't like it, then you should have voted differently. Of course, I mean the word coalition. Okay, so the first poem is about Vince Cable, who, you know, had to pioneer the setting of the £9,000 student fees. You got 3 cards in your hand, but you do not understand the rules of the game, but you're playing just the same. And before you started playing, people heard you saying you'd only one ambition. No one pays tuition. But now you're at the table and you're playing, Mr. Cable, for the highest stakes. You can't afford mistakes, and so you compromise. And in most people's eyes, that might mean you'd say, okay, students have to pay, but we'll keep the figure down to under £3,000. But your compromise comes as a surprise. A wham, bam, kapow. It's 3 times what they pay now. Now, that could be a bluff, because that's the kind of stuff that card players do. But that just isn't you. You're too honest, Mr. Cable, to bluff a poker table, and your claim to fame could never be that lame. You're an honest politician who's now in a position of sounding like a liar, a 5 high-punching flyer who's betrayed the rank and file with a smile. And that never was your style. So, forget the Tory shit that we can't afford it, and do the Liberal bit for which you were elected before you were infected with all that Tory tosh. Wash our faces. Hogwash! Investing in a nation and the next generation is the primary ambition of a Lib Dem politician, and it should be your ambition. And you don't need to mention, in time, students pay your pension. So just do it, Mr. Cable, while you're able and still sitting at the table, because it's a long time to lament once you're out of government and back in opposition as the object of derision. It's always sad when a relationship, a well-established relationship, breaks up. And so this is one, it's called The End of a Stable Relationship. I refuse to have your reins hitched up to my rail. I cannot stand the sight of your nostrils in my pail. I hate it when you whinny. Get a life, you male. And when we go out riding, keep your what's-it from my tail. I no longer want your hooves trampling on my straw. As for making hay with you, it's always been a bore. Hi-oh and away. I'll hear that phrase no more. Now I know a bolt can lock the stable door. Let's move back, I think, to some political poems. This one's about TV. TV, the underwear of Western civilization, Invest trivia with the importance of papal encyclicals. The faithful called to stare. The same lame, no-brain game shows. Quiz questions so dumbed down, a friend phones in the answer. The collusion of the chat show host with the has-been, it girl, and movie star. Celebrity judging wannabe. Celebrity fecking chefs. Endurance tests translated from the Japanese. Sporting bullies, overrunning, knocking schedules back a week. Misfiring cannonballs of comedy. Award-whinging satirical artillery. Freeview, preview, pay-view, porn. The news provides food for thought. A 6 to 8 slice pizza, chopped brightly colored peppers, the last slice cheesy. A pretty girl who claims to know tomorrow's weather. Soaps for the great unwashed, a litany of unreality. Producers with Jurassic Park mentalities rebuilding every imperfection in their reconstructed sets from unoriginal DNA. All subhuman life is here.